Hello and welcome to the Men's Lifeline Academy, where we're bringing on stellar men. Doing the podcast, we always find men who have reclaimed their life, changed their life, and now want to take that to another level by elevating it so that way they can now be a scholar of life, so that way they can also help someone else in need. For those who don't know me, my name is Zach Goodman. I'm the host, and today we have Kevin Big Energy Dad in the house. Big Dad Energy, man. We've been trying to get this going for a little bit of time. I've just been seeing just knock it out with between workouts, trying to get your life in order, being sober, and living that clean lifestyle, man. So welcome to the podcast.
Yes, I'm super happy to be here. Finally get to talk to you. I've known you for a minute now, but
Yeah.
this is an honor to be on here talking and sharing. I always like doing these things. So
Well, we like having people like you, men like you who are on here to really kind of know what it's like to kind of struggle and then kind of see if anyone else can relate to that struggle in life and all those trials that everyone endures, and knowing that one, you're not alone, and then two, what are you going to do about it?
yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Kevin?
So you know my name. I'm 37. I'm a 10-year vet in the military. Done I'm an air traffic controller for the FAA. I've done ATC since 07 or 08. When I got to my first base in the military, I did that for 10 years, contracted for a year overseas in Afghanistan, and then I joined the FAA in 2018. I've been doing it stateside since then. Married for 3.5 years now. We've got a
Nice.
2-year-old boy. It's our only kid, and I've been sober for about going on 5.5 years now. April 2020.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I grew up in northern Delaware. I bounced around in the military, been overseas a bunch of times, and now I've been in North Carolina since 2012, and that's where I met my wife, and we live in Raleigh now. And we love it here, man. I don't plan on leaving. It's a great place. It's got everything you need, and it's beautiful, except for the pollen. Allergies crush me every year.
Oh,
Yeah, I love it here, man. I got a great life. It's an awesome thing.
nice. Well, what about it kind of attracts you? Is it the mountains? Is it the forest? Like
Um,
people?
I think it's probably the you can get to where we're at in Raleigh. You can get to the beach in an hour and a half. You can get to the mountains in about 2. So, and my wife's pretty much she's a homer, so she ain't leaving. So I
The
don't.
homebody?
Yeah, I don't live by the happy wife, happy life thing, but in this situation, I'll compromise. If I got moved back up north, I would, but we love North Carolina, so she loves it here. So she grew up here, in kind of like the country. So we don't want to leave. It's a good place to raise a kid.
Yeah, definitely. No, I know quite a few people who are in like that North Carolina area. And what's really cool though is like being, sober and kind of taking that responsibility for your life. So what kind of led up to that decision? Because that's a big decision of
Oh
putting
yeah,
down the drink.
yeah. So for me, every alcoholic's story is different. Um, the only thing we have in common is we hit our rock bottom and then we have to figure it out. And then whatever way you go about getting sober, that's your choice. Me, I went through Alcoholics Anonymous and I still practice all of that in everyday life. But I drank when I was a teen, but it wasn't that much. Because I was always scared. My mom's a battle axe. So like I didn't get in the car and drink and drive when I was a teenager, like, so I didn't do any of that. I kind of,
That's good.
but when I hit 21 is when it really took off. And like, I mean, from the day I turned 21, I didn't stop, and it really, really got bad. I was probably drinking every day, probably since like 2020. So I turned 21 in not 2019. And I think in 2020, when I went overseas for my first tour, is when it really took off, because that's all it was. It was just a big party zone where I was.
I was going to ask you if it was when you're in the military.
Yeah. And the military didn't do it. It was the party culture that we had when I was over there for 15 months. And whether or not, when I say I drank every single day, it wasn't I was getting drunk every day. It was I wanted a beer. I had a beer every day. but most of the time I was partying. And then that evolved when I got back, because I came to North Carolina and I was stationed at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base down in Goldsboro, North Carolina, till 2017. And that's when it really picked up. It was when I was doing it down there. And then when I went overseas in Afghanistan for a year, when I got out and contracted, we couldn't drink over there. But I never was sober. I was what we call dry. And because I had never found recovery, I was still wanting to do it. And then when I got to Greensboro in the FAA is when, like, one day I woke up and I had to be at work at 6. And I walked in there and my supervisor was like, all right, go ahead and grab your headset. Like, I'm done with my proficiency time. Like, it's time for you to actually do your job now. Like, you're the controller. Go ahead and get me out of here. I was like, I can't. And that's when I admitted I had a problem. I self-ID through work. And then they put me through their stuff. And I went through it for like 4 weeks, and I was like, I was with my sponsor, and I was drinking the whole time, and he knew what I was doing. And then I woke up again, and that's when I really hit rock bottom because I couldn't get out of bed, and I had to walk my dog, and I didn't want, I was like, all right, I'll get up and do this, and I called him, and I said, hey man, I'll just call him Jay. I said, hey Jay, like, can we actually do this? Because I really need help. And he laughed at me. He goes, yeah, come on, dude. He's like, I'm not gonna tell you no. So it was April 29th, 2020. And I never looked back from that day. And it's just, without that, I wouldn't have found my wife. I wouldn't have my kid. I wouldn't have been able to come to Raleigh and work here at a busier facility and work the volume of traffic we do. I wouldn't be able to sit here and do this with you. I wouldn't be able to help other people that have problems where they struggle in life. And that's what makes me tick. Besides being a husband and a father, helping other people get through struggles, whether it's what I've dealt with or something, simpler or more difficult. It's all subjective, but
Sure, but I
I
mean, it's
love doing
still
that stuff
your
now.
story, though. And
hmm
so, how was your experience with AA?
I love it, man. It's not for everybody. It really isn't. Um, some people can, some people go to rehab and they get clean there and that's it. But I know that I tried everything humanly possible, from Xing days off on a calendar that I didn't drink. I really knew my problem was getting bad when there was less X's. That there was there was more blank days than X's on the calendar. And I laugh at it now because, like, looking back at it, it's like brother, you could have just given up and surrendered like so many years ago, but it took me so long to finally surrender. And it actually helped me. The whole thing is, in the program, is saying you're powerless and finding something greater than you to believe in. And a lot of us, you find our relationship with God again, and that's what happened with me. I'm a big God guy, and I'm a big, and this isn't me pushing that. Do what you need to do to get sober if that's your problem. And I'm telling you, man, I remember the first time. One of the big moments of getting sober was, I remember the first time I cried again, and it, it's it was, I got sober in 2020, and it was like a year later, right before I met my wife. I watched this movie. You ever seen the movie? I think it's called Hachi.
No, I haven't.
So it's about it's a dog movie, and the owner, I think it's got Kevin Costner in it, and
Okay.
it's based on a true story. The true story is this dog in Japan. His owner got on a train to leave for work, but like he did every single day, and the dog would follow him to the train station. One day, the owner didn't come back because he had a heart attack on the train and he died. And the dog would go to the train station every single day, and people like took care of the dog and everything. And like the dog is since passed, but this was many years ago. But now I remember watching that movie and sobbing and finally feeling something again. And I was like, oh my God, like sobriety is amazing. Like I have emotions again. Like I can be happy. I can laugh. I can cry if I need to. And that was like one of the big, like huge spiritual awakening type things for me. It's I wouldn't trade it for everything.
Yeah,
So
it's amazing what happens when you kind of, in this case, sounds like you stop numbing yourself.
yeah. A lot of people ask, like, why did you do it? And Yeah, he could come up with many reasons, but I mean, I don't know. I could probably talk your ear off for 3 or 4 hours about every single reason why I did it. But I mean, at the root of it, it's because, I'm alcoholic. I'm going to, one is too many and 1,000's not enough. Turns off that frontal lobe in your brain of reasoning and you turn into an animal and just keep going. But
Yeah, well, that's hard because so many people walk around and you don't know what kind of addictions people have.
mm-hmm.
You don't know what struggles people go through, or what really sells in a person's mind. That's one of the key things, that people are not mind readers. I would have never, besides your little X file, I would have never have known how deeply, that went through.
Nobody did. Nobody did. People knew that I liked to go to the bars, but people didn't know how it was affecting me because I hid it very, very well. People might have known I was hungover, but they didn't know what I was doing every single day. Like you know how you schedule, like Zach schedules his day around certain things. Like it might be, hey, I got to get X, Y, and Z done because it's 6 o'clock. I gotta do this podcast with Kevin. Mine was, I get off of work at 2, so I know that I can drink at 2:30 when I get home until 6 o'clock that night and that was the one thing too, man. In air traffic, we have a 12-hour rule. Like you can't drink 12 hours prior to your shift.
Mm-hmm.
And I never broke that rule once, which is really weird because like somebody who was heavy drinking, alcoholic like me, it was like, it's funny the things that I didn't do, but I still did at the same time. And I would plan my day around my drinking. I would go, okay, I know that I can drink between 2:30 and 6. What am I doing around that time? And like, and people didn't know. They just thought I was an introvert. I stayed inside. But I also, whenever I went back home and hung out with my friends, like I went and partied. None of them had the issue I did. All my friends back home, they got families and kids now, and they don't touch the stuff anymore. But they also didn't have the addiction problem.
Well, not just that, but they also have kids. That makes it a little bit different.
Yeah. I couldn't
Even at that,
imagine.
you still have to schedule your time if you do want to enjoy a beverage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't imagine doing. Well, I could imagine. I wouldn't. I wouldn't have my wife and son. Like if I went back out, they'd be gone. That's like the one thing I made my wife promise me. Like, hey, if this ever happens, which it won't, because that's such an absolute thing to say, but with certainty, if you practice something every single day, that it's not going to happen again. Like I have such a good foundation and such a good program, and such a good network that I've learned what to do and what to recognize. And I made my wife promises like, hey, if this ever happens, like, please leave, until like I get sober again, and like that I'm sober. But I think one of the biggest things I learned from all of that, like now that I think about it, is I personally needed to go through all that because people ask you, hey, it's the question, you hear this question all the time. If you could go back and tell yourself something 15 years ago, like what would you tell them? What would you change? And people think it's really arrogant when I say like, oh, I wouldn't change anything. And I really wouldn't, because I had to go through all of that stuff and learn the very, very hard way of how to be a man, how to be what you would call, quote, normal, citizen, normal person, how to live accordingly. Because like, one of my old sponsors used to say, like, you have to follow like you're going to have to follow life's rules, whether you like it or not. So you got to learn how to live with them. And I always
A
thought
lot
that
of people
was,
don't like those rules.
I know. Yeah. He's like, you can push back all you want, man, but this is how life is. Like you either accept it or you don't. Um, but yeah, I think one of the biggest things was, learning was being able to be comfortable, like in my own skin, being comfortable with myself and stuff like that. Cause a lot of that was tried to be drowned out. And a lot of that was drowned out during that period of time. And,
So what was that like, though, discovering like what it means to be a man, especially when you were talking about the movie with the dog just crying? Because I know that's like one
yeah.
of the biggest questions is like, it's okay for a guy to cry. I mean, it's like,
Yeah, dude,
well,
that movie hit me, man. Like it just really got me right in my feels, and I started crying. I was like, oh, I was sitting there tearing. Um, but now, like, what I think the main thing when I was like, because I was always try to be tough guy, like alpha male,
mhm.
crap, tough stuff like that. Like, I'm a big guy, I'm getting the women, everything. Um, but that's little boy teenager stuff, man. Like, you can go ahead and have fun, I guess you could say, when you're younger. But I think when you really become a man is when you kind of pull yourself up by the bootstraps and accept responsibility for your actions. And I wasn't doing that. And once I started going, oh crap, like nobody else is the problem. I'm the problem, you know? And um once I started, that was one of the big things like that I realized going through the program in the early, very early months, like, there's my son knocking at the door. um and once I realized that and I started inventorying things, like when I feel some sort of way, like, oh man, like Kevin's hurt, why? And most of the time, 99.9% of the time, I played a factor in it. And what could I have done differently?
Mhm.
And then you learn to give grace, you learn how to forgive people, and you learn how to make amends and stuff like that. And once that really hit, like I became a man at 32 years old. And once I fully understood that concept, I was like, oh, okay. Like this is how I'm supposed to act. Like, you know, and I think that's what, I guess a little long-winded answer, but
No, no, not at all.
I think being a man is, accepting responsibility for your actions and what are you going to do next time? You know, and you can categorize that, with being a husband, being a father and stuff like that. Like that's the core concept of it in my experience.
But there's that deeper level to it, though, that yes, it's being a father showing up, but at the crux of it, it's learning how to accept that responsibility. Like your sponsor said, hey, you gotta play by life's rules.
Mm-hmm.
You may not like the rules. People don't like rules.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? We still gotta find ways to live in this world.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So with that, how are you now kind of helping other men like discover themselves, or whether encouraging people to go to AA or small recovery? There's so many, small recovery, AA.
Yeah. Honestly, I was really bad at it at first because I would get really preachy and be like, you need to do this. And now it's more of just like a suggestion, you know? Like I would ask a few questions, like say it was drinking. Somebody came up to me like, and, most of the time people, I guess, joke around and they're like, yeah, man, like I'm a functioning alcoholic. I'm like, I kind of will put like a little sly comment in there and be like, yeah, if you get rid of the word functioning, what are you? You know? And then, I mean, it's the same thing. Like functional fitness is still fitness, type thing. And then I'll just kind of tell them a little bit about my story. Cause I'm not shy to talk about it. Like, because even if someone doesn't have a problem, there's still going to be a positive message,
Exactly.
hopefully in what I talk about. And if someone comes to me and goes, hey, like, how did you quit drinking? Like, how did you do this? I'll be like, look, man, I woke up one day and just was sick and tired of being sick and tired. Like I that was a rock bottom. Like maybe you're not there yet.
Hmm.
My first test I give people is if they think they have a drinking problem, I say, okay, look, I don't want you to stop drinking. Like, please go enjoy yourself. Go have fun. But I want you to go out and I want you to only have one drink and walk away. If you can't do that, and the next thing you realize you're five deep, maybe come back and talk to me. You know?
That's an interesting test.
Yeah, it is because
That's yeah.
I've asked it in the rooms. It's been asked to me, and that was the one thing. I was like one of the first questions. Like one of my very first sponsor asked me. He goes, because he's like, I'm not here to convince you that you're alcoholic. You have to realize it yourself. He goes, but I will ask you, maybe to get your brain going. Is when's the last time you remember taking one drink and you were satisfied? And I froze and I said, I don't know. I don't know, Jay. Like,
Yeah.
you tell me. I've known you for 3 days. You tell me. Um, and then we go from there. And then I go into my story, kind of like how I don't crash course it like I did in the beginning of this episode that we're doing.
Mhm.
Like I'll go in a little bit more detail, and then you can kind of start seeing their eyes light up. You can kind of start seeing like, oh man, like he went through all of this, and like he did this to get sober. Like that, this is all you had to do. And it's not an all you have to do type thing. There's work to be done.
Oh my gosh,
But
especially addiction. Oof,
yeah,
a whole
yeah,
different ballgame.
yeah. You know, I mean, addiction comes a lot of things. Like sometimes, like if you get the physical withdrawals, like go see a doctor. Like, you know,
Yeah, definitely. Oh,
but
especially with alcoholism. Yeah,
yes, you can die from the
you can
withdrawals.
easily. Yeah.
Um, and then we'll go from there. And then if they're like, yeah, man, I really do think I have a problem. Usually they come back. I don't ever talk to them about it again. You know, if they keep coming back and asking, then I'll be like, all right, man, we can talk a little bit more serious about like, what I did. And then I could start introducing stuff to them, or I can say, hey, like, go to this website and pick a time, a date, and go to this address and go introduce yourself to some people. Sit there for an hour, listen to what people got to say. Um, and I think hearing people's success, and a lot of the times you don't like getting into the comparison game, but
Hmm.
sometimes when you hear a story that sounds worse than yours, you're kind of like, oh man, like I'm sitting here moping and crying over my story, and this person's telling me he was homeless for 10 years. Like, I guess I don't have it that bad, but I still have a problem. Like, maybe I'll put a little bit more effort into it, you know? Um, and that's how I help people out when they come to me about drinking. When it comes to just like man stuff, I guess masculine stuff, being the leader of the household. Um, I had to go. I have a mentor for that. His name's George Hayworth. He's everywhere on X. He's a big guy. On there with men's leaderships and kind of
Yeah,
taking the
he's a former
role.
military guy, right?
Yeah,
If I'm
yeah,
not the same guy.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No.
He's awesome. I talk to him every other day. You
Oh,
know,
nice.
yeah. Um, Tyler Tot. I'm sure everybody knows. A lot of people know him. I'm in one of his men's groups.
Oh, nice.
Um, and somebody who is I'm constantly learning how to do it. But it goes back to accepting responsibility for your actions. Because if things don't go the way around the house, I would like them to be, what's going on? And most of the time it's me not communicating. How am I talking to my wife? How am I presenting to her the plan? How am I getting feedback on the plan? How is she contributing? Because I don't run a tyranny or a dictatorship in the house. Like, yes, I try to be the leader, but at this, like I think all men should be as husbands. But at the same time, my wife is I made a covenant with her in marriage, and I hate saying that my wife is my partner. I hate that term, but for arguments and topics sake, my wife is my partner in the household. She keeps this place a beautiful haven, and I go out and I hunt and kill and bring the meat home. And it's such a great synergy, like a really good symbiotic relationship, like we have going, like we complement each other in all these different areas. And when men come to me and they say that that's not happening, one, I either go, okay, just take a deep breath and just kind of take an inventory of yourself. what are you where are you getting upset at? What could you have done different? Come back to me and tell me about it. Because like I said, we play a role in every single conflict, every single butthurt feeling that we got going on 99.9% of the time. And when they're like, yeah, man, like I could have done this better, I could have done that better. And then if they really push back, I'm like, go talk to this guy and I'll refer him to George. Or I'll refer him to somebody else who I know could help. And I think being unapologetically who you are kind of helps people get out of their shell too. Because if
Mm.
you go to my X feed, I really don't hold back on any opinion that I
You
have.
really don't.
No, and I don't care because if you're offended, it's your problem. But at the same time, I'm not throwing out derogatory slurs. I'm not being sexist. I'm not being racist.
I was
I
gonna
just,
say I've
I,
never seen you ever.
yeah, I just stand on business when it comes to my standards and values and beliefs. And I think a lot of people are attracted to that who are kind of scared to talk like that. And, I'll put something on there like, men are the leaders of the household. Women should, their wives should follow them. And people can, oh my goodness, like, oh, he's controlling his wife.
Well,
No.
we go back to a leader
Yeah.
someone who just guides others. It's
Mm-hmm.
not demeaning. It's not being derogatory.
Mm-mm.
It's not like, hey, this is what you're gonna do. You're not gonna
No.
shut up.
Yeah.
It's
Every
love and support.
Yeah, we didn't do it as frequently, but the most recent thing that I got from my mentor, one of my mentors, and this one's from Tyler, is he said, sit down every week and do a family meeting and schedule times and blocks of times and get feedback on your wife. Like you present like, hey, what are your wins of the week? What are the challenges? Hey, like these are the appointments, stuff like that. And just take a half hour to plan it in there. And my wife and I share a Google Calendar together. So we see everything that we both put in there. And there's no excuses. If there's a time slot, there's a time slot, you know? And we even schedule like I guess me time, I guess you would call it. Like if my wife wants to go have 3 hours and go walk around TJ Maxx and not buy anything, I don't care what she does. Go do that. And us sitting down and scheduling our life has made things really simple. And if there's time in between, you kind of wing it. Where if I come home from work and, I go to the gym after work a lot, and I'll come home, grab my son, and we'll just go outside or I'll put him in the car. She's like, where are you going? I'm like, I don't know. Go take a rest. Go lay down. You got me. I'll take him for an hour or two.
I guess a lot of men could take a note of that versus because how many times you hear about the guy going either sit on the couch watching sports or
Mm-hmm.
doesn't really help out with the child.
Hell, my son will sit and watch sports with me, man. He's 2 and he's screaming at the TV, with me
Watching
like,
it.
yeah. I'm like, oh man, like he's all right. Go ahead and hate me all you want. Anybody listen? I'm a giant Philadelphia Eagles fan, but he already knows what team to root for. So he loves it. He loves sitting down with me and he loves the time with me right now. So I'll eat it up all I can whenever, because my work schedule is kind of busy sometimes. But yeah, I think helping, communication is just the biggest thing. If you keep secrets, nobody's gonna know anything.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I'll give advice. I always say this whenever I hear the word communication. I always got to think the one of the biggest supporters, probably one of the smartest people I know, and that's my grandma who says communication, communication, communication.
Yeah. It is.
And never not over communicate.
No. Like I will be blue in the face until like I get a point across or um my wife and I are on the same page. And most of the time we are, because you don't want to, let's see how I can word this next part. I think before we actually started sitting down and talking about like our family, we kind of worked separately, but as one unit, if that makes sense. So like
Kind of giving up like roles and responsibilities about it.
kind of, because like
Is there a little more to it?
because like I said, like this house is hers. Like she can decorate it how she wants. Like she keeps it clean. She makes it smell good with all the candles and vacuuming and stuff like that. Like she picks up after our boy. But at the same time, like if I see her struggling, I go, hey, what do you need help with? I could have gotten my teeth kicked in at work. Like air traffic control is so mentally draining, whether it's slow or fast, whether we're busy or not. Like it's mentally draining. But I take that 10 minutes in the driveway and sitting in the car and I go, all right, let's take the ATC hat off. Let's put husband and dad hat on. And I go in there. Hey, I know you're responsible for this, but like, what do you need help with around here? And I don't think a lot of guys do that.
No, you're like the second person I've heard that actually takes time before they even walk in the house to make sure that work stays at work, and then the dad hat comes on, or the husband hat comes on. Honestly, the only other person I've heard that was Dave Ramsey, and he talked about that before he would walk in his house. He would get himself mentally prepared for, because you don't know what you're walking into. It could be a good day, bad day.
Yeah, and you have to separate the two worlds. you can't bring your emotions home from work, like, because my wife has nothing to do. If there was with my management, with the union, with other coworkers, with pilots, I could have had a terrible, terrible day. But I have to kind of put a different face on when I go inside because I don't want to drain the energy in my house because they might have had an amazing day. And who am I to take away their joy by coming in being a miserable a-hole,
Yeah, well, that's incredibly unselfish to do because how many times people do like I feel like shit. So
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm no saint. I am not perfect. I slip up, with that stuff, and I have to catch myself with it. But my wife is very, very empathetic, and she can read me like a book. And she knows when days have been bad and when days are rough, And um, she, she, I couldn't have married anybody better. I'll just say it, put it that way.
you
Yep.
can definitely tell with how much you shine when you smile about her.
Yeah. God put. It took me till. See, we've been married 3.5 years. So what? 2022. I was 34. So it took me until I was 34. I was 34. Met her when I was 33. Married when I was 34. So it took me 33 years and about a year and a half of sobriety before
Oh,
I met my wife.
I'm glad you got sober. I mean, I can't imagine trying to have a relationship and get sober at the same time.
No, I'll be honest, dude. If I didn't get sober when I did, I'd probably be dead.
Oh shoot!
Yeah, I say that with 100% certainty. Yeah, I would have already had liver failure and stuff like that. Like it was bad. Yeah,
Wow, liver failure and scoliosis of the liver and
I would have had.
everything.
Yeah,
Oh
my
my
yeah.
god!
Like I'll be honest. Like I don't know how I got as far as I did. I do. God was watching over me, and I didn't know who it was at the time. But
But that's scary, man. I mean,
yeah, I just
you,
you're addicted. You're addicted. You don't care. Like I said, it's I laugh at past now. Excuse me. Um, and I know that say anybody else who has any sort of sobriety underneath them, you probably understand what I'm saying. But um, yeah, I couldn't. Yeah, I don't think I'd be around.
so do you
Yeah,
still go to meetings?
yeah, not as often as I did. Um, it's something that I self-admittedly know that I need to improve on. That's one big thing that I need to do. I help. It's not as frequent as I would like to. Um, because before, and I can use any excuse of, I got a 2-year-old, I got a wife, I got a job, but if the first thing that you put before sobriety is the first thing that you're going to lose. So again, if I put my family before sobriety, it's the first thing I'm going to lose. So you got to make sure it's sobriety. Like sobriety is number one in my life. So if that ain't there, dude, like turn the computer off and I'm out of here. Like
That's some, honestly, major honesty to really reflect on. Huh?
But yeah. Yeah, I try not to hide any of it because, like I said, if I'm keeping secrets about it, if I'm not telling people who I really am, then I feel like I'm doing a disservice.
So how did
Because
you discover that? How did you discover to kind of take off that mask? Like you're at that dance party, right? You're at a masquerade.
I
Everyone has
st-
a mask on.
I learned. Well, I saw something written, and this is one thing. Like I try to help people with that either have like self-image issues because God knows I have body dysmorphia to the max. With like I love the gym. I love lifting. Like, I'll never be like jacked and tan enough type, mentality. Um, but when I stopped trying to control everything and I stopped trying to be a superhero. And what I mean by that is you can't read people's minds. So you have no idea what they're thinking about you. So stop making up scenarios in your head about what you think they're thinking. And as long as you are living an honest and genuine life, you have nothing to worry about. Because the only thoughts that you will ever know in anybody's head are the person you see reflecting back at you in the mirror. The only time you're ever going to know what's going on in somebody's head. And once I really, really, really convinced and believed in that, I was like, oh, all right, like that's it. Yeah, because you ever leave a room sometimes and you're just like, oh man, I hope they don't talk about me.
Sure,
I hope
who
they're not.
hasn't?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I still do it from time to time, but as I'm like walking away, I'm like, I really didn't do anything wrong in there. Like, if they don't like who I am, they don't like who I am. Like, I know that I'm okay. I know that I'm not rude. I'm not mean.
Right.
You know?
Might have said something maybe not fully thoughtful.
Yeah, like I legit, it does not bother me. There's a disagreement or a difference of opinion, or someone's like me, like KP's just not my bag, man. I'm like, all right, cool, like that's fine. I don't have to be,
Yeah, one
but I
less
know.
person,
Mhm.
find your tribe, right?
Because when you try to be everybody's thing, then you go down that people pleasing road, and that just ain't healthy. And yeah, I don't ever want to be that again.
I don't know. Have you ever read Robert Glover's No More Mr. Nice Guy?
No, I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, look it up. So he kind of talks about how he was so instead of calling himself like a recovery like addict,
Mm-hmm.
he's a recovery Mr. Nice Guy.
Oh no. Yeah, I can only imagine how bad that one would be, because I've been the people pleaser, and I mean, that was a rough one to overcome, because you want everybody to like you, you want to do everything for everybody.
Well, that was his thing. I mean, that's why he got divorced. I want to say 2 times
Mm-hmm.
because he's been married 3 times, and a lot of it was because he wouldn't tell his wife what was really going on. She would say something, go, okay. So always just agreeing and never speaking your mind in a productive, effective manner. It's just more of a matter of fact or that type of situation where it's like, okay, whatever you want, whatever's going to make you happy. Kind of like in the beginning when you were talking about how, you don't live by happy wife, happy life
No, no,
mentality.
your wife does not want your wife. I can guarantee without a doubt, a wife does not want their husband to live like that. They want their husband to say no, because their husband can say no, we're not doing that, or no, I don't like that, or no, can we do it a different way? It shows that you have a pair. It shows that you want to be the leader. It shows that you're a man. It shows that you stand on business with your standards and values. And when you're a yes man, and you have kids, your wife is raising your son and you at the same time, because you can't make a decision on your own.
Yeah. It's like almost like you happy babied.
Yeah, yeah. I used to have a problem with that in the beginning of our marriage, and I was like, oh man, like I got to keep her around, so I got to just do what she wants. She's gonna leave me if I don't, and like I had this huge self conscious thing going on, and um, I remember sitting there and I was like, she wanted to do something or wanted something. I was like, no, we're not going to do that. She got upset at first. Then, like 5 minutes later, she's okay. It's like, wow, that was really that is that easy? It's just like, yeah. Think how many times people told you no and you were like stomping your feet, and then like 10 minutes later, you're like, oh, okay, everything's fine again. I just didn't get my way. Yeah, saying no is so powerful and so useful. Just don't overuse it. Just don't be.
That's the key, right? Because just how people say yes all the time,
Yeah,
then the pendulum goes.
yeah. Don't be a no man. Don't be a yes man.
Like, do you want to hang out? No. Do you want this? No. What do you want? No.
Yep.
It's like,
That's what a toddler does.
yeah, no, well, that's when we kind of really have the discussion of, what's a man versus a boy. I mean,
Hmm.
again, you can be 35, 45. I mean, if you're just going to stomp your feet, I mean, that's when you'd be child.
Yeah. Yeah, I've posted about that a few times, the man versus the boy thing. And, a boy doesn't accept responsibility for his actions. He blames others. A man does. And that's the simplest thing. A boy chases multiple women, a man devotes himself to one that he loves and wants to be with and wants to build a family with, a home, and create a legacy and stuff like that. Uh, I'll say it. A lot of people love the Tate brothers, but those those two guys are just angry boys. They're just angry boys in my eyes. I know people might love them, but
well, they love what they have, right? That they can
yeah,
have anybody, and
I just
they're just.
and if that makes them happy, by all means, go live it up, brother. Go ahead, go do your thing. But from where I'm standing, I have way more than somebody like that. It's got to be miserable to act like a little boy. It's got to be miserable. I was there till I was 32. Like, I know from experience. Looking back on all those years where I didn't accept and I blame, you were the problem. Oh, I was such a child. I was, and don't get me wrong, being a man takes a lot of work. Sometimes you don't want to accept the responsibility. But once you get in that habit of, telling the truth and, hey man, I messed up here. Like, I promise I'll fix it. And then you do it, it honestly becomes second nature. It becomes a habit. And
so
then
how do you keep that up? How do you stay in that consistent life of
practice? You just have to do it. Like I think it takes time at first, because like if me and my wife get in an argument and I know I'm clearly wrong, it takes me about 5 minutes now to cool down, let the emotions settle, let the heart rate come down, and I go, hey, look, I was wrong there. I shouldn't have raised my voice. Before it was, I'm never doing that. She'll come apologize to me. And how arrogant and cocky is that? How just terrible.
So where'd you learn that from? Like, I mean,
I learned it in AA. Yeah. You promptly admit and you make amends.
Yeah. One of the steps.
Yeah.
Making amends.
Yeah. So, was it step 10? So you just promptly admit when you're wrong and you fix it. And that takes time. And that comes with personal inventory. Like, I used to have to take inventory on paper and write everything out because I just couldn't mentally hand because my bandwidth was so full. But now it's just like, if I said something inappropriate to you, it'd be like, oh man, like that was not how somebody should act. And I'd be like, hey Zach, like I'm sorry, man, I shouldn't have said that. Like I apologize. Like, can you edit that out? Like I promise I won't do that for the rest of the time. And it's just as easy as that.
Yeah.
But it has to. The main thing is ego. You have to bury your ego. Realize nobody cares about it. Ego is just that chip on your shoulder sitting there weighing you down. It's that monkey on your back.
And won't go away till you address the monkey.
Yes. Yep. And I think that was like my biggest problem, was doing that. Because once I got rid of all that, like I said, I learned how to take responsibility, learn how to accept, responsibility for my actions, and be what I guess you would call normal, like I said earlier.
Well, you're also in a few different groups to help you with that accountability, especially these days.
Yeah, because
have that. They
there
don't
are
have sense of community or maybe the financial means to afford those communities, especially if you're talking about Tyler's or.
Yeah, and there's times, and what they're great for. This is like the one thing they're great for is there's two things. One, you get to help other guys out because you're a third party looking from the outside in. And when you get to be that person that goes, hey, here's a situation. I think I handled it properly. What do you guys think? And they're like, I remember the first time I did that in George's group a couple years ago. I went, man, I stood up to my wife. I told her, hey, we're not doing that. Like, you're going to listen to like blah, blah, blah. And they were like, well, that is the worst thing I've ever heard anybody say. And dude, I got so upset that I got called out in the group that I just remained silent for the rest of the hour. I was the first one to share within 5 minutes because I was like, I got a huge win, guys. I got to share it. And I shared my win. And they were like, no, that's the worst thing you've ever done since you've shared in here. And I was silent. I was butthurt. Like I could feel tears swelling in my eyes. Like my throat was, dude, I was so freaking upset because I thought I had done so well. And they called me.
Up that high anticipation.
Dude, I was on cloud nine. Dude, I was on cloud nine thinking I was turning a new leaf. Like I'm taking control of this. I'm not people pleasing no more. And they're like, nah, dude, like you just completely, you swung the pendulum in the other direction, like you just said, and you were just a complete jerk. Like, no, I wouldn't want to be your wife if you're acting like that. And I was like, dang, like, what should I do? And they were like, they shared and everything. And I was like, oh man, like after I got off the call, I was like, man, they're right. And the next call we did the next week, I came in and apologized because that was my first opportunity to do it. Like it was brewing me for a week. And I had to apologize for being a little baby. I mean, I didn't use that word, but you know, it's like, yeah, you guys really did chew on me. Like, I appreciate it. Like, I did kind of sound like this, and I'm sorry for being silent and not sharing again after that. Like, and I think, that's another big thing about, being a man. You admitted your faults. You came back, and you come back stronger from it every single time. You don't ever get weaker from it. And
I'm glad those guys didn't just agree with you, but yeah, dude, you're right. That's awesome. Because then it might have been like the Tate brothers, right? It's like, yeah, you tell her.
Yeah. And the thing is in all those meetings, like George was probably the least to speak up about things. He let everybody else in the group like talk, and that was cool too, because like he kind of let his mentorship and his leadership reflect through everybody helping each other out. And that was like, that helped my marriage out a lot too, was hearing how other men helped their marriage out. Like, and I still talk to these guys every now and then too. Like whenever we type in the group chat or whatever. But yeah, I run stuff by George all the time. Hey man, like this came up. Did I do this right? Yeah, you did it okay. Like, let's work on it a little bit better. He's like, you're still learning. He's like, you're only 3 years into a marriage.
Because he's like, what, 10 years?
Yeah, he's like 10. I think he's got over a decade.
I think he just like posted where he was on the brink about 27 and he did like a transformation. And then like, I think he's like, what, 37 now or something like that?
Yeah, George is my age. He's 37. Yeah, his story's a good one. I won't speak for him, but his story's a good one.
Well, I mean, it just shows you the power of community, and especially when people can agree with you or not, and also the approach to it. Like some people, you can just tell them, it's like, yeah, don't do that, or hey, you did pretty well.
Yeah,
gotta make progress. Gotta fine tune. Gotta sharpen those edges. Might take a little bit, but we just gotta get them out a little bit. Just gotta keep shaving away.
Yeah. Brotherhood was key for finding a group of men to build yourself around.
No, that's awesome.
But yeah, that's been key. I think these last couple of years is finding a brotherhood and talking to people every single day. You gotta keep yourself accountable. You gotta check in. And I'll bother people. I bother my buddy back up in Delaware every single day. Hey man, how you doing? Because the moment you don't check up on people when they start slipping, and I don't mean that in a negative way. Just
more accountability, and plus, it's amazing how when you don't talk to people, how much the years can just go by.
So, yeah, man.
So as we kind of wrap up today, and definitely got to bring you back on at some point because I know there's a lot more in there.
Yeah.
What's a piece of advice you'd want to give someone today?
Piece of advice I want to give. Man, I shared some of my favorite ones. The don't be a superhero one's my favorite. So I would say, here we go. Here's a good one that always, and I'll keep it PG. If you meet somebody and you think they're an a-hole, they're probably an a-hole. If you meet a second person and you think they're an a-hole, they might be an a-hole. But if the third and fourth and fifth person think they're acting like an a-hole and you think they're an a-hole, you're probably the a-hole. So always look within and see what the real problem is. That was always one. It's funnier when it's profane, but I try to keep it PG just for you guys.
I appreciate you keeping it PG. How true that is when we think someone's a jerk. First person might be a jerk.
I guess I could have used that word.
Second person a jerk, maybe. Third, fourth person. At that point, you might be in front of a mirror.
Yeah.
And so that's just really important to recognize how much that is to take responsibility and things like that. And so we always invite the guests. They always get, the glamour and everything because they're taking time out of their day. So what I'd like you to do is if you may have made it this far, go check out Kevin. Go get some of that energy back in your life and, check out his his ex posts, quotes, and everything in between to see how well he's authentic and spreading that positive message. And then like, share, comment on this video so that way we can help other men who are struggling, in this case with sobriety. And if you want to get sober, then start today. Call a Alcoholics Anonymous number. There's numbers you can attend Zoom online. There's ones that you can attend in person. There's Smart Recovery, which is typically designed for people who are non-religious and who don't really want to focus on higher powers. Smart Recovery. And I'm going to have a lot of different resources available. If you're struggling with addiction, please go check it out. Know that recovery is possible, healing is possible, committing to that safety, committing to that journey. And if you're a man out there, you want to improve your life, we have the Men's Lifeline Academy Discord group, subscription paid group, where we help other men on their journey to discovery, accountability, with weekly lessons, Monday, 7 p.m. EST. We'd love to have you if you want to chat about that, see if you'd be a right fit for the community. Man, we would love to welcome you, brother. So, Kevin, thank you so much for coming on. We always appreciate our guest. Again, go check him out, and I hope everyone has a blessed day.